Hey guys, welcome back to Anime Sekai Podcast. I am your host, Ichigo, and I'm joined by my bestie.
Mikan here.
Join us this week as we discuss Mikan's homework.
Yes, I did a lot of homework.
Her homework this week was to watch shoujo anime Violet Evergarden. So let's dive into it. This week we're going to be discussing Violet Evergarden and Mikan's takes on Violet Evergarden. She had homework. That was her homework to watch a
I
shoujo
spent the
of my
whole week
choice.
watching it every day.
How'd you like
I liked
it?
it a lot. I mean, it was on my list already, and then you, of course, recommended it last week. So I went and
Yes.
watched it, and I have to say, it was really good. I did have pretty high expectations because I've heard so much about it. And of course, the
Mm.
visuals that I've seen look amazing, and they were. They were. I would say the visuals itself was like a 10 out of 10. Looked spectacular. Story was great. It
What?
had everything, war, some good action, little girl kicking butt, and it was
Which
sad.
was
It was
great.
sad, and it has a little bit of everything.
Yeah, it does. So, for those who have not seen Violet Evergarden, this episode will contain some spoilers. So,
Yes.
we suggest that you pause this episode, head over to Netflix, watch all of season 1, season 2, and the movies. Everything should be on there. And when you're done, come back and join us. Sit back, relax. We're not going to hopefully talk about anything too sad,
Hmm.
but just in case, get your tissue boxes
Yes.
ready.
If you're gonna watch it, get some tissue because I don't usually cry, but there were some tearjerker moments for sure.
Oh, this anime made me cry.
It's good. I will
Not
say,
gonna
like,
lie.
each story is really good.
So I'm just gonna go ahead and dive into it. Violet Evergarden is a story about an emotionally detached soldier who settles into post-war life as a ghostwriter and begins to reconnect with her feelings while searching for the meaning behind her former commander's final words to her. First and foremost, this story jacked me all the way up. I'm not gonna lie. I loved it so much. But but this was one anime that I just could not watch without tissues.
I agree. I agree.
It was really good.
I will say, yeah.
And how did you feel about Violet's character development from episode 1 to the end of the movie?
Oh, so good. So good. Honestly, the fact that she was like a child soldier and then she became there's one part where he says, I hope he becomes someone who is like worthy of the name. So basically Major Gilbert gave her that name, Violet. And he's like, I hope he
Mhm.
can become someone who's worthy, I guess. I'm not sure if that's what he said, but worthy of that name. And I feel
Yeah.
like she really did. And also that other scene where his brother gave her, he's like, oh, this is my last order when she was leaving his house. And then
So
she's like, oh, I don't need any more
she
orders. And I was like, yes, girl, you have grown up so much. I loved it.
she went to his house to apologize.
Oh, did she?
Mhm. Because at that point in the series, when she goes to the brother's house, she goes to apologize because at that point, everybody thinks that he has died in the war.
I think this is later. This is another later, like almost towards the end. I believe it's after the train incident.
Oh, after the train. So she visits him
Yeah.
twice, remember? So the first time she goes, I guess, in a way to kind of apologize. At least that's my feeling. That's what I got when she went over there. Like she went over to apologize, but also try to figure out, almost testing the waters and ask him, like, hey, I'm sorry I wasn't able to save him.
Yeah.
But also, can you let me know what his last words mean?
Yeah.
Which they're grieving. The whole story is about her
Yeah.
grief and her overcoming her grief. She has been in a command type lifestyle
Mhm.
her whole life. I mean, she was raised as a child
Yeah.
soldier. She did not have a
Yeah.
childhood. She did not have
And she basically
anything.
lived for one person, like that was her whole world. And then
Right.
suddenly that person pieced out, basically.
Yeah. That was
So sad.
But when she's first introduced into the series, she's real quiet. She doesn't speak unless spoken to or I don't want to say commanded to
I mean,
speak
she
because
kind of,
that
yeah,
sounds wrong,
she kind of is.
but it kind of comes across that she only speaks when she is commanded to
Hmm.
speak. And she's very in her
Yeah.
mindset that this is my life. This is how my life is going to continue to be. Then she goes to the, I'll say post office. I think it was a post office as a quote unquote automatic doll or basically a ghostwriter, but they were called
Yeah,
dolls.
so they're basically people who are able to use typewriters. They can basically write. So they write these letters for people who not only maybe can't write for themselves, or they write in an eloquent way to, it's almost like translating other people's feelings into a letter.
Right. Well, they also write for people who cannot read or
Yeah.
write, which is interesting because here Violet is only in combat mode up until she starts this job. She doesn't know how to feel with other people because she's basically at that point a living
Yeah, and she
robot.
has to write and interpret other people's feelings, which is pretty interesting.
Hard for
Yeah.
her. It's near impossible. But that's what I love about it because it forces her to come out of her military mindset
Mhm.
and put herself back into this place of I'm not in the war anymore. The war is over.
Yeah.
Now how do I move on?
Yeah, I mean, I love what the major's friend, oh yeah,
Hajins.
Hojin's, and he tells her, he's like, "You're on fire, you know? And one day you'll realize it."
Hmm.
And then the moment she did, that was like so beautiful.
And as the story progresses, the moment she, I don't want to say realizes what the colonel's final words to her
Mhm.
was, which was basically, I
Yeah.
love you. It was before then. I think it was the moment she realized that he is gone, he is not coming back, and I still don't know what his words
Mhm.
mean. But at that point in time, she was also kind of coming to the realization of her true feelings, not for the colonel, but her feelings of her own. Like, I can feel these things. I can feel sadness. I can feel
Yeah.
anger. I can feel frustration. I can feel these things. I don't have to be a robot,
Mhm.
basically. So at that point, when she was starting to come into her feelings, girl, I was bawling my eyes
Oh,
out.
honestly, I was so happy for her when she finally got to that moment of like, I don't have to listen to anybody. I can do what I want. I was like,
Hmm.
yes. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you, Lord.
It is anime like Violet Evergarden that really brings me to a almost like it's real. Like, this is based off of a real story. Like, this is a real person who has these feelings, who has this emotion, who's trying to overcome her
Mhm.
hardships as we do in the real world every single day. Like, every single one of us, we all have our own hardships. We all have our own things that we are trying to get through the day, and we are pushing ourselves past our limits. We're pushing ourselves to understand. And then you've got an anime like Violet Evergarden, and you see the main character, she's doing the exact same thing. She is trying to push past her limitations. She's trying to push past her own mindset. She is trying to really find a place for herself. And girl, I can't even put it into
Yeah.
words
No, I totally agree.
how.
Her growth, but I also loved each of the stories, which allowed her to grow
Mhm.
and understand. Oh, do you have like a favorite story that you liked or that made you really cry? Like, was there one specific one that,
Ooh. Basically, if I'm gonna be 100% honest, all of the stories made me cry. But the one story of where she went to the hospital
oh, with the sick kid?
with the sick
Oh,
child, and she basically had to write his
his like
letters
dying,
as he
yeah,
is
his dying,
on
yeah.
his deathbed. And who, girl, when that little brother kept telling him, "Thank you, brother,
Oh,
thank you."
that little
Oh
boy,
my
that little
God.
brother was so cute.
He
So
was so
cute.
cute, but girl, I had to stop. I had to stop. I'm not even gonna lie. I had to stop watching Violet Evergarden just for a
Oh,
couple, like, just for a little bit to kind of pull myself back together because, like I said, that anime is so realistic that I was like, Violet, come on
and that hurt my
now.
heart. That really, and especially like that at the end when they were, she was getting the messages that he was passing, that he was gonna die. They tried to
Mm-hmm.
write the letter, but instead he was able to make a phone call to his friend and tell him his last words.
Well, tell him he was sorry because I think they had an
Yeah. He's like, "Oh, I don't
argument
want you to
while he
come,
was in the
yeah, visit me."
hospital.
And he's like, "Hey, I'm sorry about that." And I was like, "Oh my god." And also another thing was
Girl.
when she said, I'm going, like I'm leaving to go back and write that letter. I was like, "Yes, girl, stand up for yourself." She was like, "I'm gonna do this for me," even though she finally found the man she was. All right, we're gonna go to the end, but she finally found the man she was looking for. Who? Oh my god, I can't even talk about this man because I would be real
In the
mad.
movie, in the movie, yeah. Just changing gears here a little bit. The Violet Evergarden, the last movie. Now, if you're watching on Netflix, you have to watch the series first. In between the series, there are two movies. There's like a special that is a
That one's
movie,
also really
and
cute.
then there's the Violet. Yeah. Then there is the Violet Evergarden movie. So the Violet Evergarden movie is connected to
It's like a final,
the
yeah,
main
it's the
story.
final closing of the story, basically.
Right, right. So in this movie, Violet is once again, she's going out on a journey. She gets word that someone may have found the
Hmm.
colonel
Yeah.
alive. And so she goes on a journey to find him. She finds him.
She finds him. And this man, okay, I sent a bunch of videos to Ichigo here, and I was
You
screaming and I
did?
was yelling and I was calling him a lot of bad names because I was so mad at this man. So basically, yes, I'm pretty sure, hopefully, everyone has already seen it. And if not, well, you should go see it right now. Now's your chance.
Yeah.
Um, Basically, he's found
Well, we did
alive.
do spoiler
Hmm.
alert, so
Yeah, he's basically alive.
he is
And
alive.
he was alive the whole time. No, he didn't lose his memory. Honestly, I thought that's the route they were going to go, where, they go the route of like the cliche, oh, he lost his memory, he has amnesia, he doesn't remember. No, 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 no. This man remembers everything. He refused
Yep.
to go back.
Yep.
He basically was a coward and couldn't face his demons like Violet did. Honestly, she's a little girl, okay? She's a little girl who basically had to face all her demons by herself on her own
Mhm.
with nobody to help her after this man basically abandoned her. Okay, that's what he did. He abandoned her. And then he wouldn't even see her when she came, when she found him.
Yeah,
Whew.
when she found him and it was
It was
raining
rain. Even his friend,
hard.
why did he not punch him? I was like, his friend needs to give him a few good smack in the face because
I
I was mad.
Because at that point he had been entrusted with the care of
Mm-hmm.
Violet after, but my thing is he didn't even know that the colonel was
Yeah,
alive because in all of the season, like the
nobody did.
episodes,
Like,
nobody knew. Even the own
even the own
brother.
brother.
Like the fact that nobody in your
And his
family
own
knows
mom
that you're
passed away and he didn't
alive
even come to her.
to the
I'm sorry,
funeral.
but this man is mm-mm.
He is a coward, I
Yes.
will say. So that did make me mad because I'm like, bro, you've been alive this whole time. This girl is looking
Yeah.
for you. Your family is looking for you, and you know people are looking for you, but you
To just
decide not to
he
go
literally
and
runs
fight.
away.
Like
He runs away from all his
you can't even
problems.
send a letter that
Mm-hmm.
says like, "Hey, just letting you guys know I am okay. I am alive." And then just leave it. Like you don't have to put a return address on it or anything like that. Just send it and at least let your brother know that you're alive.
I honestly thought they would kind of go the route that he knew because he seemed to know something that nobody else did, but no, nobody knew. And
He hinted a
like,
couple
yeah,
of
that's what I
times
thought.
as if because he kept saying, "Well, they never found his
Mm-hmm.
body," and I was like, "This man better
Yeah.
not be lying."
No, the thing is, from the get go, I thought they would either go the route where he is alive, but I thought it would be amnesia. I really did. Because I just could not imagine this man
Mm-hmm.
would be that much of a coward. They would make his character that much of a coward. After all that he put this little girl through, like, I was like, mm-mm, that's wrong. That's wrong,
Mm-hmm.
man.
But I will say, and I'm not condoning any of his actions, not even in the least bit, because I think what he did was
Mm-hmm.
messed up. Just, he survived and didn't let anybody know. Like, no, you ain't getting no slack from
Yeah.
me, bro. But what I will say that I think the anime did a really good job in or of is she was able to become a better person because of that quote unquote
Yeah.
abandonment.
No, she would have never had the same growth had he stuck around. I 100% agree.
Right. Which he does mention that, like, you would not be who you are standing in
Yeah.
front of me had I not left you, which I get that, but bro, you couldn't let your family know that
He
you're all
just
right.
abandoned her, like, he truly did. Honestly, he just left because he couldn't face the fact of what he'd done, and the fact that he did love her, but he had to.
He had to
I'm
let her
like, "Man,
go.
man up. Come on. Seriously?"
He had to let her go in order for her to become free and live the life that he felt like she should have, because up until he met her and even after he met her and had gotten to know her, she had basically been a quote unquote human
Mhm.
robot. She had no emotions, she had no feelings, she only did what she was told. I mean, even that scene in the series where she reflects back and he buys her that
Yeah.
brooch and he was like, "Here, you deserve something nice. You deserve something pretty." Like being real sweet to her, and she was like, "What am I supposed to do with this?" Kind of like she didn't know how
Yeah.
to react. That robotic, "Okay, are you ordering me to wear it from now on?" He's like, "No, it's not, and this is not an order. This is a gift." And she was like,
Cool.
okay."
Yeah.
I see that progression in her where you can tell she wants to change. In order for her to change, he is holding her back.
Yeah. No, I agree.
He just went about it the
Yeah.
wrong way.
No, I agree. I just really I mean, I like that aspect, and definitely there would be no story without him basically being gone. Oh, but it just made me mad. I was so frustrated that a whole movie. I was shaking my computer. I was like screaming. Oh man, I'm still mad.
You guys, if I could send and put this out there, her reactions to this one movie, not only the one movie, the episodes in general, I got all the updates, y'all. And Mikan's reaction was in the beginning what I expected. And when she got to the movie, it exceeded my expectations. It was hilarious, pure comedy. Thank you for that brightness to my
Well, I
day.
hope you enjoyed my rage and my frustration. I'm glad you did. I'm glad somebody did.
That movie will
Yeah,
set you
it
off.
it will. If I ever watch it again, it's gonna make me mad all over.
I watched it again, and for me, watching it again just it didn't make me pull out the tissue boxes this time just because I know which parts that I can mentally prepare
Yeah.
myself for, that I'm like, okay, here's the sad part. But that movie at the very end where they
Mhm.
separate and then I forgot who initiated running after the
No,
other
so
one.
his bro oh my god, the Major's brother is a little bit cold, and he was always cold to Violet, at her as, like, a
Oh,
soldier, and when that man was making more sense than the Major, girl, I was mad.
yeah, that threw me. I was like, good job, brother.
He was the one who said, "Go get her," and then he started running,
Yeah, that's what it
and
was.
when
That's what it well, and I couldn't remember because they fell over in
yeah,
the
so she jumped
ocean,
into the
which is
water. Man,
beautiful.
I was also screaming at that point. I was like, "You better run faster because this woman is putting in all the work. She's swimming. She's jumped off the boat to swim to you, so you better run
Yeah.
faster, man." I was so mad I couldn't even enjoy the sad parts.
Girl, that hug, my heart
Mm.
just it broke. The tears were flowing. I had to pause the movie. It was at that moment that I was like, this story is coming to an end because she finally found the man that she realized that she was in love
Mhm.
with all these years, who, mind you, yes, abandoned her, but she
Mhm.
overcame that
Really quick.
abandonment part. Like
She overcame that really
she
quick.
that abandonment stuff went over her
Oh,
head and
yeah.
out the window. And I guess because for her, it was more of a grief thing. She, at that point, had thought that he had passed on. He had gotten
Yeah.
killed
I
in
mean,
a war.
she didn't see it as abandonment. She basically just was like, "Oh, I'm a burden to him," you know?
And that hurt my heart too. The fact that she thought that she was a burden to not only him, but Hodgins, the other
Mhm.
dolls that she worked with. Like, she put herself down so much in the beginning. And I was like, girl, you need a
Mhm.
hug. Like, let me just give you a hug. Let me jump in the show real quick, give you a hug. It'll be
Yeah.
okay. We're going to get through this
Oh
together.
my god. But the end when they were looking at each other before they hugged and she was crying and she wanted to say what I was like, "You better spit it out because this man does not deserve what you're about to say." But She was, like, crying, she couldn't even get it out. I was like, "Oh my god." I was
That I love you, because she finally was like,
oh.
I can finally say it back to him. I finally know what this
Mhm.
means. I will say this show also had a really good friendship
Oh, yeah.
support.
No, the people at the post office were really I love their characters.
They all supported her very thoroughly. Mind you, yes, they are side characters, right? So you don't get a lot of their background stories and what they do outside, because the story's not about them. The story is about Violet and
Mhm.
her growth. I will say, out of those side characters, I believe her name is
Yeah.
Catalea, which she is the oldest doll,
And she was,
quote
like
unquote, that
yeah,
has
the
been
top doll
there.
before Violet came along.
Hmm. Right. And she's still revered as the top doll. She's
She
my
was, like, the one
favorite.
character, though, we didn't really get a background on, which I was kinda sad about.
Well, she was
Yeah, because there were
mysterious,
some other dolls
but she
that
also,
they actually do show a little bit of their backstory, like, I think Erica and
hmm,
Irisu, yeah.
yeah, Erica
Iris, I think,
and
yeah.
Iris, you get just a sliver of their
Mhm.
backstories, but I think it's because they're still fairly new. Whereas Catalea, she says even a couple of times in the show, she was like, "Well, what do you do outside here?" She was like, "It's a
Mhm.
secret." And
Yeah.
that's it. She's like, "Look, I'm mysterious. I'm gonna be the mysterious, friendly, motherly type
Yeah.
character in this series. And you look, I ain't saying nothing. You ain't getting
And I'm
nothing
kinda
out of
surprised they
me."
didn't have any budding, like, romances for the side characters because I really thought they would have some kind of
They
it was
did.
it was, like, not clear, though, which I was fascinated.
It was Benedict. Benedict had a crush on one of the dolls. But I did like their friendships, workplace friendships was very
Mhm.
relatable. And they all, while they struggled in the beginning getting to know
Yeah.
Violet, they all eventually got to know her and thus began
Yeah.
supporting her. And there was even like a little bit of like competition between Violet and Iris, which was really cute because it's like little workplace competition, like friendly
Yeah.
workplace competition.
And another thing I really liked about the story is everyone who first met Violet, they didn't really like her, but, like, towards the end, they were like, "Oh, wow." They just she just kinda, like, melted everyone's heart.
Hmm. She grew on a
Yeah.
lot of people. But here's the other thing, people were kind of hesitant around her because of her
Mhm.
hands, where she lost both of her arms
Yeah.
in the war,
See, the thing is
you
before I
know.
watched, because I didn't really know anything about this story, I actually thought she was a robot.
Hmm.
Like, I thought she was a robot,
I did too.
like an actual robot, and then people are like, "Oh, she has feelings," or something like that. But and then I realized, no, she's actually a person.
Well, it's because they described her in the very first episode as an
Yeah,
automated
yeah,
doll. So I'm like, okay, so
yeah.
she's a robot. And then they gave her backstory, and I'm like, so she's human. She was used as a
Mhm.
weapon. And that was the only thing that they were able to see her for, was a weapon, because she was taught even to continue fighting until she no longer had breath in her
Yeah.
body. And while she was fighting alongside the colonel, she basically did whatever she had to do to keep both of them alive. That scene where it shows how they separated, she was trying to basically pull him away using
Yeah.
her teeth. This story
It's
is
just a little
just,
heartbreaking stuff happening.
but it is
It's beautiful.
so realistic and
And the animation,
beautiful.
amazing.
Even
The
the
art, oof,
animation is amazing. The opening theme
oof.
song, Sincerely, that song is so beautiful.
And honestly, like, the background, like, the CGI they mix in looks beautiful, it's stunning, it's really stunning.
They did a
They
really
did.
good job. The CGI mixed in so well, I didn't even tell CGI. I had to
Yeah.
go back and
No,
see.
I really like it when anime is able to, because I'm not, like, super big into CGI except for, like, background, but when you're able to really combine it to make it look extremely seamless, it looks
Mhm.
honestly, it looks really good. One thing I still don't understand is
Mhm.
the relationship she had with Gilbert. I'm like, "What's going on here? Like, are they lovers? Are they, father and daughter? Like, what what is the deal?"
It had a
Mhm.
progression, which was interesting, as the anime kind of kept it not a secret, but there was a slight progression. And the progression was almost like a higher rank military person, lower rank military person. So Violet being the one who has to follow all of his commands and nothing more. He's then trying to act as a, I guess because she's young, a
Yeah,
paternal
no. I mean, there's a huge age gap there for
father
sure. I don't know
figure.
how old the major is. I think he's probably in his 20s when they first start the show, and she's like very
Yeah,
young. Yeah,
but I'm curious to know how big of an
I don't
age gap.
know. They
I don't
never.
know how big of an age gap they have because they get together in the end. So
I don't know. I'm pretty sure he was in his 20s, maybe.
I want to say they have, let's say, anywhere between 4, 6, or 8 years
Hmm.
between them. But I think in the beginning of the story, they started out as,
I just looked it up. He's 29. She's
how old is
14.
she? Oh, Lord.
So there's a 15-year age gap.
I was very off. So then, if that's the case, it would be, I guess, like a older brother, younger
Yeah.
sister
I
type of
feel like that's why
relationship.
the anime doesn't specify, because they kind of leave it up to the audience to
Yeah,
think what they want, you know? And I think a lot of
right.
people assume it might be romance is because, like he says, I love you, but you could say I love you to anybody, you know? I love you as in you're kind of like my family, you know?
Well, and Violet goes throughout the series and she's asking a lot of her clients, what does I
Yeah.
love you mean? Like, can you
Yeah.
explain it to me? And she's asking all different types of people who give her different
Yeah.
definitions of the word. So I think, like you said, it's kind of up to the viewers. Me personally, now that I know his age, I don't think it's more of a
Uh-huh.
romance. It could be more brother and sister.
Yeah. No, I feel like for me, I looked at it more as it like evolved over time.
Yeah.
At first, he saw her as somebody he needed to save, kind of like an older brother, you know, being that he was a younger brother as well, who they didn't have the best relationship. And then his regrets
Yeah.
and whatnot. And maybe in the end, you know, they fell in love. I don't know.
I could see that. Yeah. I would agree with that as well. But I honestly think it's up
Yep,
to the
I
viewers.
agree.
As your very first
I
shoujo
mean, it's not my first shoujo, but yeah.
that you've sat and watched through that we have both
Yeah.
seen
Yeah.
together, let me put it that way.
I
How do you
feel really
feel?
good. I mean, I'm glad that was like the first recommendation, you know. I loved it. It was
Yay.
really good. It was on my watch list, so I'm glad that I finally was able to watch it and I enjoyed it. And it was a lot better than I thought it would be. Like I already had pretty high expectations. I think the story itself,
Mm-hmm.
like the ending was kind of what I expected, but all the little stories in
Right.
between and her growth was not what I initially thought. So I'm really happy about that. And I didn't need the
Mm.
tissue box, so that's always a good thing. No, I would definitely recommend it for other people because I feel like it has a lot of variety in its genre, so most people can enjoy
Mm-hmm.
it,
Yeah. I think it's got a little bit for everybody in
and
there
it's
to
just
watch.
beautiful to
So
look at.
yeah. Now I gotta recommend more anime for
Yeah,
you to watch that's shoujo.
it's my turn. It's my turn. I'm recommending.
Uh oh.
I want her to
What you
watch Attack
got?
on Titan, but I already know she's not going to. One
No.
day, y'all. One day, don't worry. But for now, the shonen that I am going to recommend for
Mm-hmm.
you is Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yes.
Because I feel like
Okay.
that's one that's a little more lighthearted and you might enjoy the characters more.
Mm-hmm.
That's your homework.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's my homework. This is for
Yep.
next week's
That's your
episode.
homework. My shonen.
I will take it.
Good, good. And then after that, it's Attack on
Yes.
Titan.
No.
You
Look,
must.
I got you
You
on
must
Jujutsu
watch it.
Kaisen.
For now, her homework is Jujutsu
But
Kaisen, and she'll tell us about it next
all
week.
right. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us on this week's episode of Anime Sekai Podcast. We hope you all enjoyed it. Please let us know on our Instagram page at Anime Sekai Podcast your personal thoughts on Violet Evergarden. Have you seen it? Have you not seen it? Do you enjoy watching anime that's probably going to make you cry? And what are your thoughts on Violet's growth and character development? Thank you guys so much for stopping by, and we will catch you guys
Bye,
next
guys.
week. Bye, guys.